Rodgers' model of critical reflection very much encompasses Dewey's idea of reflective thought. And in this model, the reflective process is broken down into 4 phases. The first phase is described as presence in experience. This is different to any other models we've seen. Presence in experience is about the teacher learning to see really what is happening, seeing clearly and seeing honestly. The second phase is describing that experience, describing what has been seen, and trying to understand it, differentiate the different components. The third aspect is analysis of that experience, trying to link, to deconstruct it, to link it to theory and to literature. And then, of course, the final stage is experimentation, or in other words, learning to take action from the analysis of the experience. According to Rodgers, interestingly in this model, the idea is that the teacher, although going through a cycle, can actually move backwards and forwards in the cycle at any particular point. So it's not necessarily a smooth process, but something which can go backwards and forwards. This is because of the first element, the teacher being present in the experience, how they perceive it. Because in the model, the idea is that the more the teacher can actually see, the more the teacher can perceive, that will affect the rest of the reflective practice process. So therefore, the teacher may need to move backwards through the model in order to keep perceiving clearly what is really happening, to question their version of reality. So it's very much about learning to see and differentiating the different parts of what happens in the classroom. Describing the experience then is therefore quite complex in this model, because you won't just describe the experience once. You would describe it potentially a number of times, because you'd be moving backwards and forwards through the model. There are a number of descriptions that you could make, and you would be constantly trying to refine the description and refine your perception of what's happening. And what this is very much about is the teacher being very clear about their own perception, their own apprehension of the way they see. This is the cornerstone of this model, and as I said, it's quite different to other models, this being present in the description. The analysis involves generating a number of different explanations, therefore. There could be explanations from previous descriptions as well as later descriptions, in order to get that very critical, in-depth and honest perspective of what's been going on in the classroom. And although the analysis comes from the description, the model says that the teacher can move backwards, and therefore the analysis and the description can become very, very closely linked, each depending on the other. The description can become a reaction to the analysis as much as the analysis can be a reaction to the description. And of course, the final phase of reflective practice is about action. In this model, action is not the word which is used, but clearly experimentation. It is very much focused on the teacher trying things out, testing things in the classroom, and not being afraid of the consequences, but learning from the consequences in order ultimately to improve their teaching. And therefore, what this clearly says about this model is that knowledge is knowledge from experience. Acquired knowledge is not something which is constructed in isolation, but is very much linked to the students that the teacher is working with and colleagues that the teacher interacts with in the school.